I'm taking 4 ferries over the next 4 nights, and I'm calling it a DIY cruise. Starting in Barcelona, I took night ferries across the Western Mediterranean and found a different city to explore every single day. This is all because I was wondering whether a DIY cruise could be a cheaper and feasible alternative to traditional cruising. Now, the cheapest 4-night traditional cruise that I have found in September is this much. When you add in mandatory tips, it is this much. So, can the costs of my DIY cruise, which include ferry tickets, cabin bookings, food and any entertainment, come to substantially less than this traditional cruise price? And is it a feasible alternative? I just arrived at the port of Barcelona to get on my first ferry of this DIY cruise. So tonight I'll be boarding a ferry here in Barcelona and I'll be disembarking tomorrow morning in Palma de Mallorca. It's only a 7-hour ferry crossing, but the cabins for this leg were extremely expensive. Can anyone tell me why, by the way? They were a lot cheaper for like the 16-hour ferry that I'm getting tomorrow night. So I have opted for a shared cabin on this leg. Now I've got to make one thing clear, if you are doing this DIY cruise as a couple, you wouldn't have to get a shared cabin, like communal shared cabin. You'd be able to split the cost of a private cabin between you two and it would cost the same amount of money. But because I am a solo traveller, it was going to cost me quite a lot to have a cabin on my own. All of my other ferries, I do have my own cabin. It's just this one and it's the shortest ferry, so I'm going to have to suck it up. Maybe there'll be no one else in there, that would be lovely. It does say check-in is in about half an hour, although my ferry doesn't actually leave for 2.5 hours. So let's go head over to the port, see where I need to check in and get sorted. At the port, I found a cafe where I could get a glass of wine and then I boarded the ferry and located my cabin. When I walked in, my cabin was empty. This could technically accommodate 4 people, although only one bed looked fully made up. This was genuinely one of the nicest ferry rooms that I've seen. It was super modern, everything was incredibly clean, and if it was only me here, I actually had loads of space. Generally, the foot passengers are the last to board these ferries. The fact that there was only one bed properly made up as well made me feel cautiously optimistic. In fact, the entire ship was pretty quiet. This was a Wednesday evening in September, so it wasn't really peak time. These chairs are what you can book to sleep in if you don't want to pay for a cabin, although I did see a lot of people with blow-up mattresses just on the floor as well. And the only really busy part of the ferry was the outdoor area. For some reason, this was pumping. There was a DJ with makeshift DJ decks who was playing music, and I stood on the deck and watched the Barcelona skyline slip away. Right, I'm out. That was lots of fun. It's absolutely popping on there, but I need to get some sleep. So there's not much in the way of entertainment. I've seen cinemas and like quizzes and singers and stuff on other ferries, but there is a guy with DJ decks and speakers who is having an absolute party on the deck. Unless I have a roommate dancing on the deck. I think I got away with paying for a shared cabin and getting a cabin to myself. Oh, I'm all tucked up in bed. I'm still a little bit concerned that someone's going to come walking through the door, but surely not by this point. We've been sailing for at least half an hour and there is only a blanket on only one bed. So fingers crossed. I am excited to go to sleep on a boat though. I love the rocking feeling of it. It always sends me straight to sleep. So I'm going to enjoy that and we'll catch up in the morning. Good night. Oh, it's about 5:10. I did think at one point we were going to be arriving at 4. We've stopped. We've definitely stopped, but I'm guessing they're letting us sleep, which makes sense. I didn't even think about that. Usually they do let you sleep and they want you to buy breakfast, so they let you stay on the ship a bit longer. Okay, let's go. And I have made it to Palma, Mallorca, my official first cruise stop. So, first ferry is complete. It was about 8 hours in the end. Was probably on board for more like 9. I slept from about 10:30 till 5 a.m, which, considering it was a very deep sleep, is quite good for me. So I feel pretty refreshed and ready to explore Mallorca. Let's go. There was a bus stop at the port itself, but the buses don't start till 7, So I'm currently walking to another bus stop, which is a 10-minute walk away, and hopefully I'll be able to jump on a bus there. There doesn't seem to really be a pavement. You don't get this on a cruise, do you? Bus stop is just up there, and there should be a bus in about 10 minutes. Obviously, this is definitely a level of logistics that you do not have to deal with on a cruise. However, I quite enjoy it, and you see more of the nitty-gritty of the place by getting buses at 6:30 in the morning. I'm back at the port. Turns out those buses in Palma you can only pay with cash. I'm sure last time I was here I paid with card, but I must be remembering incorrectly. So I think I might try and get a taxi. I just looked online, it should cost €14, which isn't too bad. Just to the centre, drop my bag off. If I'd remembered to take cash out, this would have been really easy. But I forgot to take it out in Barcelona yesterday because I was just paying for everything by card. And at the port itself, there was only Euronet ATMs. And one of my top Europe travel tips is to never use Euronet ATMs. Their conversion fees are ridiculous. They also charge a hefty fee. So I ended up taking a taxi. It was €14, very quick. I would have got there the same amount of time on the bus, but never mind. Another thing that you obviously don't have to think about when you're doing an actual cruise is baggage storage. So my bag is light enough that I can carry it around all day if I have to. I did yesterday, although my shoulders did start to ache after a while. But today I am using Mallorca lockers. So I booked these online. It cost me €5.95 for all day storage. It's in a secure locker, so should be fine for all of my items. And I can just go and pick it up whenever. And you can also go in and out, so you can pick up things as and when. I spent the morning on a kayaking tour in Palma Bay, and then I headed into the city of Palma, where I saw firsthand why Mallorca is suffering so much from over-tourism. It was heaving. Later in the day, I took a bus up to the town of Alcúdia, which is right by where my ferry was leaving from. And I've made it to Alcúdia. Ah, it is lovely here. We've got pastel coloured buildings lined in terraces, bougainvillea, and then we've got the beautiful St. Home Church, which looks like a mini Palma Cathedral. Alcúdia, I presume it's pronounced, is on the north coast of Mallorca, but like lots of Mallorcan towns, the actual town sits a little bit inland, and then there is Port d'Alcúdia, which sits on the coastline. The Romans apparently entered Mallorca through the Port d'Alcúdia, and nowadays there is a Roman site, Pollentia, very close to here. And Alcúdia's name has Arabic origin. It originates from the Arabic words Alcúdia, which means on the hill. It was also attacked multiple times by Barbary pirates in the 16th century, and the harbour was then built to strengthen it. That is stunning. You've got the narrow streets, lovely buildings, and then the mountains as a backdrop. Stunning. I'm just about to board the second ferry of my trip. Welcome to the Port d'Alcúdia, which is in the north of Mallorca. Tonight I'll be taking a 15-hour ship from France to Spain. This is the only ferry of my DIY cruise where I've actually changed ports. This is because there weren't so many options for night ferries from Palma to night, so I thought it was worth hopping across the island. So this is the port, and this is where all the cars are going in. Oh yeah, it looks like there's a pedestrian entry there. The more ferries I take, and let me tell you, I'm taking a lot of them at the moment, the more I'm realising a lot of them are not very pedestrian friendly. There's no ferry here as of yet, but the cars are being told to go through. I'm hoping that means that the ferry is on its way. So this is definitely my own private cabin, and I also have a window. However, the rooms feel more dated. It feels bigger, but more dated. Now, the first thing that struck me when I came in was, wow, it's noisy. So this is the temperature control, and I've turned it down now. So to turn it down, I have to physically turn that. And obviously, me being a very short person, I have to stand on this and turn that. Sounds like it's taken off. Through to the main room. We've got a bin. We've got a shelf area. This is the only place where the plugs are. So I've got my adapter plugged into there at the moment, and I mean, that's fine there. And I can charge all my devices on that. 2 beds are made up, but Obviously I'm only going to be in one. And then there's a bedside table, bathroom. So pretty standard really. We've got a sink, savon here, soap, a couple of towels. Oh, that looks, maybe that's the bath mat actually. Yeah, shower mat. And a towel there. And then whenever I do ferry reviews, the curtain always seems to be closed, but it's actually open today. But I always have to do a sort of The Shining moment where I'm like, oh, is there someone there? But no, there's not. So here's the shower. The showers are always really good on these. 2-in-1 shampoo. Despite it being late, I did feel a little bit peckish, so I decided to go and get a light dinner before returning to my cabin, brushing out my hair, and this was the result. I went to sleep on it and I was going to just see what it was like in the morning. I just had a phenomenal sleep. 10 out of 10. Oh. Feeling refreshed, it was definitely time for coffee and breakfast. Breakfast time, and I've got a coffee, a pan of chocolate and some fruit. Fortunately, no soy milk or oat milk, so my quest to find the perfect oat milk cappuccino continues. Came to a total of €10.40, and then the water was nearly €3. Bottled water is always so expensive on these ferries, so I need to remember in Toulon to get a big bottle so I don't have to buy it on the next one. I actually managed to spill my coffee everywhere, which was not my finest moment. And I retreated back to my cabin because it was finally time to wash my hair. I just spent about 20 minutes literally just scrubbing myself, and I feel like a new woman. Warm shower, stayed warm for 20 minutes, can't complain. Big up Corsica ferries. Now this ferry was a bit dated, but it actually felt very grand. It almost felt like I was on one of those like old school kind of dated cruise ships. The sit-down a la carte restaurant was only open during the evening. There was also a patisserie sweets cafe, which was also closed at that time. So yeah, not much at all was actually open during the daytime. Other than the restaurants, it was mainly just cabins, and as per usual, there were Pullman seats able to rent if you didn't book a cabin, although as usual, I did notice more people were just sleeping on the floor rather than renting the seats. We've nearly arrived in Toulon, and I'm excited to see what the city has to offer. Right, let's go. A bonjour from Toulon. So this is my shortest stop on my DIY cruise. Only about 4 hours in total I've got here. And I'm in quite a chilled out mood. I've just had a little amble around the old town, which is very pretty. There's a museum and there is a lovely cathedral. There's another church as well, which I just saw opened as I went past, so I might go pop in there in a minute. And then I was just going to stroll along the seafront. I'm currently sat eating ice cream, and I can actually see the ferry that I came in on today. So there's a 50-50 chance that it is that ferry that I'm taking back to, well, over to Corsica. Because there's 2 ferries now, and I'm betting that I'm going to be on one of them tonight. When I was doing a bit of research, I did read about this train that will take you around the city. And there do seem to be boat tours leaving from here as well. I am lazy today though. I'm just enjoying the sunshine and taking it slow. I'm going to stop for a glass of wine soon as well. When I was in France a few years ago, I stopped off at a restaurant by the cathedral in Strasbourg, and I fancied a glass of wine, and I said, "Puis-je avoir seulement un verre de vin?" which means, can I have just a glass of wine, more or less. And the waiter looked at me horrified. He said, "No, c'est un restaurant," and he shooed me away. So now I'm a bit nervous to go and ask the same question anywhere. But it is 4 PM, so I don't think too many people are eating at this time. It is a busy ship tonight. I guess lots of locals take this ferry as a Friday night and head to Corsica for the weekend. There are queues for all of the restaurants. We've got Main Street, which is a burger bar, Dolce Vita, which is like a sit-down a la carte restaurant, and Sweet Cafe, which is a cafe and dessert. And I don't know if this will be popping off later, but this is where they sell drinks, coffee as well, and some snacks. And there's a lot of seating area here, there's screens, and it is very, very busy. So that is number 7, and then here we have Gusto, Italian pizza. Oh, hot. As this cruise ferry is on a Friday, I did pay about £40 more than my ferry last night, and my room is not as nice. I don't have a window for one, and it just seems quite a lot less spacious. Let's show you what I mean. So this is only a room for 2 people, whereas all of the rooms I've stayed in so far could accommodate 4. So this is as we go in. So as you can see, there's only 1 bed there and 1 pull down up there, and then like we've seen in the other ferries, there is a ladder here as well. Places to hang your stuff up, somewhere to put your magazines. Then large mirror here. I look tired. And a bin here, and then the bed. So the bed's a bit weird, it kind of sinks in the middle. I'm not sure how comfortable it'll be, to be honest. I mean, it's fine, like it will be fine, but it's a bit of a strange mattress. And then in here we have the bathroom. So we have the shower here, complete with a squeegee. That looks dirty. Oh, that's quite gross. That's well dirty. And there's some bugs that we're taking to Corsica with us. Ugh. Not sure if I'll be using that shower. I think it might make me feel dirtier. Good morning. It is about 6:20 and we arrive in Bastia about 7. But as you probably know if you watch any of my other ferry videos, pedestrian passengers usually get off last, so I probably won't be getting off the actual ship for another like over an hour or so. So I'm just gonna get up and get changed. Might go and grab a pan of chocolate from somewhere, but if the busyness of the ship last night is anything to go by, it might be too. I'm not waiting in a queue to get something, I'll just get something in Bastia. I'm not wild about it. So if one of the guys who works on the boat just knocked on the door, presumably to wake me up, but then they actually opened the door. I'd locked it last night. I do know that obviously they do have to wake people up, but I'm not that wild about people actually being able to open my room. I was in bed. Cool, you definitely don't get this on a cruise. I've just had 3 knocks on my door telling me I need to leave the bedroom. I've been packing the whole time. I've said, you know, I do understand that they need to clean the room, but you're not told what time at any point. They just tell you at any moment within sort of half an hour to an hour of you arriving that they need the room back. So anyway, I'm leaving now. Bastia is quickly becoming one of my favourite cities in the European Mediterranean. It was magical and I can't believe hardly anyone visits. I spent a wonderful day here just walking around and taking in the clearest water. And then it was time to go back to the port and board my final ferry of the trip. This ferry was with the Italian cruise line Moby, and I don't know why, but it was Looney Tunes themed. Can anyone tell me why? So this is the self-service restaurant, Macatone Latin. This is the sports bar, which is very busy. Small shop in here that seems to mainly be selling toys. And there's a pizzeria here, but again, not open. Right, before it gets too bumpy in here, let me show you the cabin. So it is a small cabin, it only fits 2 people maximum, but obviously it's just me here, so it's got plenty of space just for me. Excuse the mess, I've already taken some of my stuff out. So when you walk in, you've just got the beds here on the right, and like we've seen in all of the other ferries this week, this pulls down to make a second bed, and there is a ladder here that goes up to the top. So if there were 2 people, these would be bunk beds. There's a bedside table here. These are reading lights. And then there's a lot of storage. It's more storage than I have in my flat. With 4 hangers and the ladder. And then here we've got a mirror. And plug sockets here. We've got a little desk here with a seat. More storage if you want it. It is a bit dusty but relatively clean. Again, the only thing I really care about is a clean sheet and a clean duvet and clean pillow, and I think I've got that. Yeah, all good on that front. I've even got an extra pillow here. On that note, we will test out the bed. Oh, that is not as comfy as they have been. That was very hard. Oh yeah, that is a hard mattress. Every other mattress I've had this week on ferries has been good. Definitely the worst mattress I've had all week, but at least the bed sheets are clean. I mean, that is the bare minimum when you're paying for a cabin. Then let's go through to the bathroom. I don't know why, but whenever I go into the bathroom it seems to be really noisy. Shower here. It's temperature control. There's a bit of like mildew and stuff, but it's not like it was last night, so I will actually be able to use that. Pretty basic. I will probably rate it above last night's because the shower really put me off last night's, although the bed is a lot worse. But not as nice as the first 2 nights were the best nights I had, definitely.
Some interesting news. So do I, and there's...
Good morning. Ugh. Despite the hard mattress, I did sleep very well. Could have done with an extra few hours though. This is my petition to make all ferries last until at least 10 in the morning. I've got to give this back to reception. Breakfast time. I wasn't sure about getting a coffee, as I didn't want to ask if they had soy milk or oat milk, but I've got a Americano. I figured, as I'm in Italy, I probably should. And I've got a chocolate croissant, which might not be as good as the other chocolates I've been having, but still looks. Still pretty good. We sailed into Genoa and I said goodbye to DIY cruising, although I did think for a moment that I was going to be stuck on this ferry as I could not find the pedestrian exit for the life of me. My DIY cruise across the Western Mediterranean was one of my favourite travel challenges to date. It cost me a total of £459.27. But if I'd been travelling as a couple and had been sharing the cost of the cabins, it would have cost £375.54, which is much cheaper than cruises on the same dates. Some of the logistics were a bit challenging, and you definitely get a bit more luxury with a cruise, but as a budget travel option, I think this is definitely something to consider. So please let me know in the comments if you would do a DIY cruise, and make sure you check out the rest of my videos in this series.